Hello and welcome to the first episode of the DudeCast podcast. I'm your host, Norman Dexter. Let's get this thing going, shall we? So this is a podcast where I sit here by myself. Maybe I'll have guests, maybe I won't. I'm not sure. But I'm going to sit here. I'm going to talk out into the void about whatever happens to be on my mind. And we'll see what that is. I don't really have anything planned, but we'll see what's going on. As far as the time of this recording, it is November 14th, 2020, the year of the fuck me in the asshole, and still going through COVID, just finished the 2020 elections. Donald Trump is currently fighting to legally assert his dominance over he who sniffs the child, Joe Biden, and no idea what's going to happen with that. So, needless to say, it's been quite the eventful couple of weeks due to the election and everything else. So, I don't know what's going to happen, and honestly, I don't care. Leading up to the election, I took a bit of a hiatus from social media myself because, honestly, people were just getting way too fucking wild for me. I couldn't stand it. Back in, I don't know, August or September, whenever it was. Don't know, can't fact check because I'm doing these things without a screen in front of me because just sounds healthier. Get the fuck over it. Check me later if you want. So there was a young 5-year-old boy who was out playing in his yard with his two sisters. Neighbor comes over, shoots him in the head. I said, nope, that's not great. So I posted a few articles to spread awareness about it. I said, hey, this is fucked up. And, of course they caught the guy. But apparently that means it doesn't need to be shared and doesn't need awareness for it. And of course, the articles that I happened to share had some sort of an agenda to them, but I didn't read the article all the way through to see said agenda. I just saw it was talking about what happened to this kid. And I thought it was worth sharing. Because when I shared it, I shared the GoFundMe for the kid's funeral services to support his family. And I thought that was worthwhile. Unfortunately, many, many people on social media were sickened by the fact that I was sharing this, where the killer was obviously brought to justice so swiftly and quickly. But I wasn't sharing something about people who had been murdered many, many months in the past of 2020. This is the time of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And so a few names came up. I'm like, hey, listen, I support those cases and I hope justice is found. But that was 6 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it was. I'm talking about this, I'm talking about here, I'm talking about now, and people just didn't seem to care and just continued tearing into me for focusing on something that they didn't want me to focus on. And I thought, it's kind of fucked up because a 5-year-old's dead and you are mad about it. And you're mad at me for raising awareness about it. So I think you can lick the saltiest part of my testicles. Please and thank you. So anyway, that's where I'm at. Because I am now back on social media. Because, you know what? I can't stay away from the memes for too long. So, here I am. Now, why did I decide to do this podcast? Glad you fucking asked. Well, it's 2020, like I said. We're going through COVID. And it's looking like Biden's going to probably win this election. And the whole time he's been saying something along the lines of, we need to go back into lockdown. And I learned today that the doctor he's having lead this initiative is the guy that Joe Rogan had on his podcast early on in the year in March or February. Got like 20 million views on YouTube or some crazy shit like that. And the guy knew he was talking about. I listened to the whole podcast. I like the guy. So, if he says we need to lock down, maybe we do. But the thing is, I live in Ohio. So Daddy DeWine, as he's become known as, Governor DeWine. Big Daddy DeWine has decided that we're going to go into a certain level of lockdown, and he's going to be announcing next week exactly what it is that we will be doing. Now, I work in a gym, and I work in one-on-one personal training. So that is my livelihood, and COVID went and fucked that right in the ass for this year. So I'm doing the best that I can. And it's pretty difficult, but, I'm making it do. I'm making it work. And thankfully, Daddy DeWine made it a point to say that fitness centers will be shutting down, not gyms. So that's pretty cool. The difference, for those of you wondering, a fitness center has memberships. A gym, such as a private gym like the one I work out of, is not, where you can have one-on-one personal training. And you can take precautions like wearing masks, gloves, cleaning, so on and so forth. And you can very easily have a capacity of less than 10 people in the room or building at once. So anyway, that's pertinent to me. As for everyone else, hospitality is going to get fucked right up the asshole again. Taking it raw, dog, bite the pillow, baby, going in raw. And it's rough. It's rough for a lot of people, except for Amazon, who's basically tripled their net worth in the last 8 months. And then I just found out today that fucking Alibaba, I think is what it's called, in China or something. They just made $56 billion in, I don't know, it's some sort of a Singles Day campaign on 11/11, singles, 1111. So I don't know, but they sold so much shit that they made $56.8 billion in the last few days. And that shit is fucking retarded. But the point is, big tech thriving, middle class being destroyed, poverty level rising. That's where we are. Welcome to 2020. How does this at all address the question of why I'm starting a podcast? Because I have fuck all else to do. You know, you can't go out and mingle with people. You can have gatherings and so on, and I do. I go out and I meet with friends, and they meet with me, and we have a good time. We have bonfires, grill outs, whatever. And, but most often, I'm pretty fucking antisocial. I like just sitting at home, where I am now, relaxed, warm, cuddly, comfy. It's nice. And, you know, I've always wanted to start a podcast where I can just fucking scream to the void and see if anybody responds. But honestly, don't give a shit if someone responds. I don't know if you could realize, but I'm definitely not going to get monetized for this fucking video because I'm cursing like a sailor. This is how I talk all the time. So get used to it if you want to stick around. Anyway, screaming into the void and calling it a podcast isn't necessarily a business model as much as it is a journaling exercise. I don't journal well. I mean, I have one sitting here on my lap in case I ran out of fucking ideas and I can throw some goddamn Jordan Peterson quotes or some bullshit at you. But the idea of journaling and the idea of self-improvement are very different for me. And again, that's not the point of this podcast, but I think that's something that a lot of people focus on today. You know, a lot of people like to get to that Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk, rah hype shit. And, you know, I love Gary Robbins. Jesus Christ, that is a strange fusion. Anyway, Dragon Ball Z reference. On to the next. Tony Robbins is effectively retired as far as I'm concerned. He's from the old school. Bob Proctor, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn. I love those guys. I love their quotes. I love what they've done. But the thing is, they're just very expensive programs for people to get hyped for 3 seconds and then continue doing nothing with their fucking life. What Gary has done, Gary Vaynerchuk, I do like that because he's giving people a sense of worth in terms of hustling toward a goal and doing something for yourself, especially now during COVID. Doing something online, doing something virtually, creating something for yourself rather than trying to go through an employer. Because let's face it, in 2020, no one's fucking hiring. And I think Gary has the right message. And I do like that he's backpedaled on his hustle or die meme that he turned into, because there were a lot of people working themselves to death. They were digging their dicks into the dirt and they were burning out hard at like 20. And they started at 18 or 16, and it's just too much. But he backpedaled and said, hey, listen, if you like it, you can work 18, 20, 22 hours a day and it's not a problem. And I'm inclined to agree with him to a point, but I'm at a point in my life where I can do whatever the fuck I want, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Hence this fucking podcast. And so I'm just going to talk about some shit. And I think two figures, you know, that give people hope right now are figures like Gary Vaynerchuk and someone like Jordan Peterson. So for those who don't know, Gary Vaynerchuk is this business marketing, I'll call him a mogul, but he basically thrives on social media. He cusses a lot just like I do. And, you know, I've always liked him, but it's one of those things where if I went to meet him, I wouldn't have anything to ask him, because anybody who actually does the shit that he professes you do, they are already doing everything he's saying. And so there's no need to go seek him out or buy some bus ticket to go see him and ask him this vital question that's going to change your life. That's fucked bullshit, and don't waste your fucking time and money. If you haven't heard what he has said, look him up. It takes 5 seconds to figure out what he's about. As far as Jordan Peterson is much more philosophical because, well, he deals in philosophers like Nietzsche and so on. And he is known mostly for this bullshit with pronouns in Canada because he was a psychology professor over there for a while, and they're woke as shit, and it got a little bananas with free speech. But I follow Jordan Peterson because of his profound ideologies and thinkings. Why do I say ideologies and thinkings? Because he doesn't have one ideology. He talks about all kinds, and he intermingles ideas. Now, he comes from a Christian faith, and he comes from biblical teachings, but he also comes from teachings from stories like Pinocchio and Peter Pan. So he talks about these stories and about what we can get from them and what we can maybe learn from them and how it may apply to people. And young men all over the world, mostly young men, I'm sure women too, but mostly young men, because he's a guy, so it's easier to relate to. I'm a guy, it's easier for me to relate to. And so he has inspired these young men and has become sort of this Joe Daddy replacement father figure. And in some ways, similar to Joe Rogan, he is this picture of masculinity that men want to strive toward. And if you don't know who Joe Rogan is, you can fuck right off, because goddamn, if you don't know who that man is, how the fuck did you find me? Anyway, without going too far into a tangent, I mean, Jordan Peterson, I like what he does because he strives to help people, and he has a pretty good sense of humor about it too. I mean, if you listen to him for 3 seconds, you'll realize he sounds like fucking Kermit. And he has a sense of humor about that, and he laughs about it. And he doesn't take life too seriously, but he also takes special attention to the fact that life can be a real hellish wasteland. And I'm coming to you from a live stream on 2020, the real apocalypse, you know, the one that 2012 was supposed to be, where we've got a pandemic going on and shit's getting real. So it's pretty pertinent to talk about right now. I'm not going to get too much into it because, again, this isn't some bullshit self-help podcast. Mostly it's just dark humor and me screaming in the void, like I said. But that can be a little bit funny, and it can also be a little bit relatable, especially if I can bring up something that you may find relatable in one of your role models, such as Jordan Peterson. But, you know, he talks about stuff like you need to be a monster, right? You need to be dangerous. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean go out and fucking unleash a gaggle of murder on people and just rape and pillage like the Vikings. No, it means you have to be capable of danger. You have to be capable of turning yourself into a monster so that you can attack the bullshit, so that when your girlfriend breaks up with you, or your boyfriend cheats on you, or when you lose your job, or when you get into a car accident and you lose an arm in war, or whatever, when the bullshit comes, you have to be able to become dangerous and or a monster, because guess what? You gotta fight fire with fire. When the monster of life comes and to bring you down to the depths of hell, you gotta be a monster right back to fight it back. You got to be ruthless with it. Now, I don't actually mean ruthless. I don't mean fight tooth and nail. This is all figurative, you dumb fucks. So it's a lot of exaggeration, but the idea is simple. If you come from a place of stoicism or from a place of, I don't know, just energy, raw energy and emotion, you're not going to get very far, because if you just feel it, if you just react, you're not going to go much further than the short term. The goal is to respond, in my personal fucking opinion, for whatever the hell that's worth. And you do that just simply by accounting for everything that's going on. Okay, something terrible just happened. Say your significant other broke up with you. All right, that hurts. That sucks. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to jump on Tinder? Are you going to go to the bar and try to hook up? Are you going to post all over social media about how terrible your life is or about how terrible your partner is? Well, I can tell you all of those are fucking terrible decisions, because they're all short-sighted and they do nothing to help you. And what you could do is, some people like to vent. Some people will do that through journaling. Some people will go read their biblical scriptures, be it the Bible, be it the Quran or the Torah or whatever, and they'll reflect through their faith and what have you. Me, being somebody who's fairly non-religious but somewhat spiritual, I don't particularly do that, but every now and then it does come up, and it is something that I journey through. My main thing is developing a support system via friends and family. And let me tell you how fucking important that is, particularly to have more than just one person to lean on. And it also helps to have both sexes in your corner, because men and women have completely different perspectives to bring you, particularly if they know each other and they know you, but they don't know each other well, but they do know you well, because they will offer vastly different perspectives. Now, this isn't something you plan. It's just people you attract into your life. Anyway, when shit happens, and let's say something terrible is happening, you're having a panic attack. Well, guess what? If you have a support system in place, you can call somebody. You can go see somebody. And guess what? They can talk you off the cliff. Now, I'm not saying a panic attack is putting you into suicidal thought range, but it might, especially in 2020. You don't know. Suicide's great right now for a lot of people. They're like, fuck yeah, I can end it all. Awesome. There's your dark humor for you. That's how 2020 is going. It's fine. Anyhow, if you are having a hard time and you have a support system, if you have friends that you can call at a moment's notice, and you know that they're going to pick up and you know that they're going to be there for you ubiquitously, it matters. And that's really helpful. So you should absolutely take advantage of that. But that doesn't mean to use them like a utility or a tool. You are there for them all the same. What you take, you also return. And that's how it goes. Do that, and I guarantee you'll have a better time. So, there's that bullshit. Now, what else is there to talk about? Oh, I did mention Tinder, didn't I? So, I think I mentioned I'm single. And I have no prospects of meeting anybody right now, partially because of COVID, but partially because dating right now is kind of a dumpster fire. Particularly online dating. And I get why people do it. It's easier, and there's a constant flow of new individuals that you can choose from. So, hey, if you're trying to hook up and get laid, more power to you. Go right out and get it, son. Anyway, if you're looking for a relationship, do not go to Tinder. Do not go to OkCupid. Do not go to Plenty of Fish. Do not go to Bumble. Do not go to Hinge. Do not go to these platforms looking for your soulmate. Because let me tell you, 1 out of 100 probably work out. The rest are these abysmal dumpster fires that will ruin your fucking life. And I'll tell you why. What happens is you have this giant rack of people, this huge scrapbook of pictures and bios to read and to choose from. And say there's 1,000 of them. Maybe 50 of them match you. Okay. And maybe all 50 are attractive, or maybe 35 are really attractive, and the other 15 are just meh. But then you also find that maybe half of them, 25, have bios that really align with what you're looking for. And they matched you, so obviously you align with what they're looking for in some way, shape, or form. So you've got 25 people now who, on paper, are a perfect match because they check all the boxes, right? Looks great. Looks like they're going to be your next numero uno significant other, right? So you go on some dates. Turns out half of them are bullshit, half of them were liars, half of them misrepresented themselves or catfished you. So you're down to, let's say, 10 or 12 that are like, okay, these ones are good. And so you're talking to maybe 3 or 4 of them because the other ones just aren't using the app, okay? So now you got 3 or 4 people that you're talking to. And again, on paper, great. So you go on a few dates. And now you got to pick one of them. And then you got to tell the other ones, hey, sorry, can't do it. Or if you want to be one of those fucks that wants to play the field with multiple players on the field at a time, go for it. But god damn it, that sounds exhausting. No fucking thank you. So you pick one. Because let's just assume, I mean, God, most people are monogamous. If you're polygamous, I don't give a shit. You do you. That's awesome if you can do that, because jealousy doesn't play a factor in your life, and you can just go out, go ham, have a great time. Good for you. Use protection, stay safe. But let's talk to the majority of the audience, which is most likely monogamous, because a lot of people are too insecure for polygamy. Don't take that the wrong way. It's just, if you're fucking multiple people, someone usually gets jealous. It could be you. It could be one of the people you're with. It's just how it goes. It's how you get a lot of murder. Anyway, let's go with monogamy. So you pick one person. And again, on paper, they are great. You find them attractive, you start seeing each other, and let's face it, it's 2020. Within the first week or two, you guys are fucking like jackrabbits. So it's going well. Things are going great. But it's also 2020. We're also going into another phase of COVID lockdowns, and you guys are very limited on what you can do. So you got to spend a lot of time together at either one of your houses, and you may even have to quarantine at somebody's house for a certain amount of time, depending on who you interact with. So already you're kind of forcing yourself into a relationship where you're around the person a lot more than you anticipated. And all of a sudden you're thrust into this environment that's very conducive to codependency. And all of a sudden you're not talking to your friends as much, you're not seeing your friends as much. And if you're in quarantine, you definitely can't. And so all of a sudden you start creating a pretty isolated environment where if you're only seeing this person, well, you might not see some of those red flags that are popping up. You might just be ignorance is bliss. I feel great. Sex is good. They're hot. I'm hot. Everything's going well. But again, there's some underlying shit. Maybe you communicate really well, but maybe they don't. Maybe they tell you everything's great. You do a wellness check and like, oh yeah, I'm good. But they're lying because they don't want to tell you that this thing that you're doing is driving them up the fucking wall because they just want to keep things good. They don't want to ruin things. They don't want to fuck it up. So the communication is key and you got to go both ways, but you never really know if the other person's fully communicating with you, even if you're trying to insist on an open line of communication. So you go on like this for weeks, maybe months. And eventually that lack of communication, it falls through, the relationship ends, and you're left hurt and right back where you were. And it sucks and it hurts. And you didn't see any red flags that led up to it. Why? Because you were isolated. You weren't showing them to your friends. You weren't going to your friends saying, oh, they do this, they say that, and this is what they're like. And your friends go, wait, what the fuck? They did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you didn't do X, Y, Z? What the fuck are you talking about? And so my point being, that support system I mentioned earlier, it's kind of fucking important. And you may want to use that. But again, COVID, right? Lockdowns, right? Quarantine, right? Kind of isolates you. And again, on paper, based on your dating apps, you guys are a perfect fit. And if you're happy, that's all that matters, right? Who cares if there's some stuff under the water that you don't see? Kind of a fucking problem. Should maybe pay attention to that. But let's say it goes well. Let's say you both do communicate. And you just keep on going. We got another problem. You can't necessarily go hang out with your friends or family. So if it's going well, after however many months, when COVID's finally fucking over, you introduce them to your friends. You introduce them to your family. What if they fucking hate each other? What if they see a shit ton of red flags that subconsciously or subliminally you had no idea were there, and you had no idea this person was slowly molding you into somebody you're not, and then all of a sudden you have to choose between this care and love for this person you've been spending the last 6, 8 months or even a year with, and then your friends and family who have loved you for much longer, who have so much more invested in you, who all they want is what's best for you, telling you, hey, this person's a piece of fucking garbage. All of a sudden now, hey, you gotta pick. And that's a fucking problem. So, my point in all of this, if you're the 1 in 1,000 that can find their soulmate on Tinder, good for you. Go apply for a Tinder ad campaign and be in their commercials, get paid. You fucking earned it. But in the end, Tinder and all these other dating apps are absolute fucking trash bins. All right? They are dumpster fires that are not worth your time. But how, Norman, how do you meet somebody? How? Oh, how? Motherfuckers, please. You just have to be funny. If you are funny, you will make friends. And guess what? Some of them may want to touch your penis. And that's pretty cool. Girls, maybe they want to touch your tits. Okay? I'm not leaving you out. I promise. I'm all inclusive here. Anyway. Somebody out there wants to touch your genitals. You just have to make them laugh to do it. Now, if you're a woman, odds are you don't got to make your man laugh. You just got to show them you're interested. Most guys will just take a warm body, to be completely honest. But you want to have some standards so that you're not inviting an actual piece of shit into your life. So anyway, be funny. Be funny, get hip with the kids, and understand how to send gifs and memes. And I swear to God, if you call them GIFs or memes, I will cunt punt you so hard, you will actually die. Anyway, memes and GIFs. Learn to communicate with those. Yes, I said communicate. Because, yes, they fucking teach you in school, in high school. English teachers are teaching entire units on memes and GIFs as a means of communication. Yes, we are there. It's 2020. Memes and GIFs are a medium of communication in the virtual world. This ain't Digimon, motherfuckers. This shit is meme land. Anyway, if you get good at that shit, if you exhibit levels of humor, particularly dry and dark humor, you're going to attract some really interesting people. And you're going to start roasting them. Why are you going to roast them? Because you can't get away with, oh, you're pretty, or, oh, you're handsome. You can't get away with that in 2020. It's fucked. You have to roast somebody so hard that their soul is charbroiled. Okay? You have to roast, and you have to get good at it, because they're going to roast you back. And guess what? When you find somebody who can roast you as hard as you roast them, that is how you meet your next partner. Now, of course, maybe it's not going to work out, but I'll tell you one thing, it'll be a lot healthier than these fucking dating apps. Because if you can roast somebody, if you can charcoal their ass, oh, goddamn, I'm a wreck just thinking about it. Feels fucking good, man. Anyway, that's dating in 2020, which is a fucking dumpster fire. It's weird. I'm drinking some alcohol right now. I don't drink that much, but I made the conscious decision to enjoy myself as much as I can in these trying times. And so my favorite beer is Sam Adams Boston Lager, the original flavor, not this bullshit seasonal stuff. That's not what I'm drinking now. Maybe next time, but right now I'm drinking my favorite liquor, which is an amaretto on the rocks. I think it's Dos Equis or some shit. I don't know. I'm fucking alcohol retarded. I don't understand, or I just don't keep track of certain alcohols. I just know there are 2 or 3 drinks that I like, and those are what I drink. And so I'm drinking it right now because, well, it tastes good, and it's fun, and it relaxes me, and I have nothing to do tonight, hence why I'm making this fucking podcast, which I don't know how often I'm going to release these. I might do 3 a week. I might do 1 a day. Who the fuck knows? All I know is they're going to be about an hour of me spitting whatever the hell comes to mind. So I'm sitting here and I'm drinking. And it's just one drink because, well, as you will get to know me, you'll know that, well, like I said earlier, I work in a gym and I lead a particular lifestyle in the fitness industry. You know, I like doing what I do. I like exercising. I like eating a certain kind of way. And if you don't want to do that, that's fucking fine. You do you, boo-boo. If you want to wake up in the morning and eat bananas and ketchup, do whatever the fuck you want. Me, I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to eat the food that I need to achieve my fitness-related goals. And every now and then I'm going to treat myself, be it with pizza, be it with alcohol, be it with whatever. But the thing is, you got to find the stuff that you like. And I like sitting here in my room, dimly lit, enjoying this time recording this podcast, drinking one of my favorite liquors. And that's good for you. Keeps you happy. Because it's a lonely time. And like I said, I'm single, bitches. I got all the time in the world when I'm not working. So, if I'm not clapping cheeks, I gotta find a way to spend my time. And let's face it, there's only so much fucking yard work you can do. So anyway, keeps me busy, keeps me happy. And, you know, I did marathon at least one series. I recently acquired Hulu from a friend because, well, you know, I'm a freeloader. And I watched all 7 seasons of Elementary, the Sherlock Holmes show, with Lucy Liu and I think his name is John Lee Miller, who plays Sherlock. It's a good show. I loved it. And it took about 2 weeks to watch all 7 seasons because they're 45, 50-minute episodes, but it was good. And, it's got some good shit in it. Before that, I watched the Sherlock ones with Benedict Cumberbatch. And I think that's honestly the superior one because the Elementary one is it's good, but it's not truly Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes is a bit of a fucking cock nozzle, and I like that. And Benedict Cumberbatch does that role much, 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 much better. He's a lot sharper than John Lee Miller's version. And that's not to shit on John Lee Miller. I love the guy. He's awesome. But, they turned John Watson into Joan Watson and Lucy Liu in that show. And basically they split the incredible mind of Sherlock Holmes into two people because Sherlock taught Joan how to be a detective. And as cool as that is, it's not Sherlock Holmes. They basically divvied up the work, and that's not how it goes usually. Usually, John Watson is just kind of there to provide some random perspective that gets Sherlock to understand something he didn't previously, as he would say, obviously. So, anyway, you can only marathon so many shows, right? It's not healthy to just constantly watch other shit and just lay there and wait to die watching TV. But a little bit is good. And you'll feel like shit. I mean, I tried to start Sons of Anarchy, couldn't get through the first episode. I will, don't worry, don't bitch at me. It's a good show, I know. I love Charlie Hunnam and Ron Perlman. It's a good show. Can't wait to get into it. But the thing is, I need a break. Hence this fucking podcast. And the same thing with Mandalorian Season 2. Started watching that first episode last night, couldn't get through it either. Why? Because I had other shit on my mind, like this podcast. So here I am. And we're about halfway through it, about a half hour in. So another half hour to go. Let's do it. But first, a drink. All right. Where was I? Well, I started this podcast talking about self-help, and I just got done talking about Sherlock Holmes. Let's put that together, shall we? So, very often, Sherlock Holmes is seen as someone who is remarkable. But if you pay attention to his story, and I really do need to read the book to see what the original story is, but if you watch the various renditions of him, he refers to himself as remarkable. But that doesn't mean it's a good thing, because he's in pain, because he's so observant and he's constantly seeing things. That's why he struggles with drugs like heroin, because it takes the pain away. And, he never, when he's doing his work, he doesn't ask for money, he doesn't ask for credit, he just wants to do the work because he likes those challenges. He likes using and tunnel vision focusing on those tasks of that detective work, and that's all that matters to him. And it's a good reason why self-help is bullshit, because you can be the best in the world at something, and maybe self-help got you there. But once you're the best in the world at something, guess what? There's no longer any reason to challenge yourself, and you just end up bored, miserable, in pain, nothing else to strive toward. So you take something and you run with it. Now, that doesn't mean be a jack of all trades, but it means, put your energy into something, anything, and it'll be helpful. And, I know I just said, money is not necessary, but guess what? If you're frugal and patient, you'll be fine. If you're making $25,000 a year and you live in a low-cost state like Ohio, you can find an apartment for $500 a month, and you can get your utilities paid for less than $100 a month, and, you can put away enough money each year, as long as you're not going out spending like an asshole, to where after about 15, 20 years, you got a couple $100,000 saved, and all of a sudden, you throw that in the stock market, throw in an index fund, and it's making you a little bit of money each year that you could even live off of. But that doesn't mean you're going to stop working. If you stop working, get busy dying, dude, because you're going to get fucking bored out of your mind. So just be frugal, be patient, build up some money. That way, you don't have to worry about it, and you can eliminate that stress. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about all the time, fuck you money, right? When he first had fuck you money, he could start doing whatever the hell he wanted. He could do comedy, he could do cage fighting commentary, he could do his podcast. When you have fuck you money, everything's better. But again, fuck you money can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. There are people who are hundreds of millions of dollars living the high life, but they're miserable. And to them, it's not enough money, so they just keep striving, and it's just never enough. For someone like me, if it's $25,000 a year, that's enough. I can manage that, I can still save a bunch, and I can make it work. And I can be happy. And, do what you want to do. But, I mentioned addiction earlier with Sherlock Holmes and heroin. You can play with things like addiction. Now, that doesn't mean go fucking try heroin, you dumb fucks. That means things like getting obsessed with learning a new skill. Like maybe you want to learn how to golf or some shit, or you want to play pool, or you want to start a martial arts, or you want to learn a musical instrument, or you want to learn to play cards or do card tricks, or whatever, right? You want to get really, really good at something because it feels good to be a beginner and then become adept enough at the task to get to novice, intermediary, and so on. Maybe not to expert, maybe not to master, but it's something that you can become obsessed with and become addicted to. Kind of like how we binge watch a TV show, right? Like I said earlier, it's good to binge watch a single TV show. It feels nice if you do it once. But if you do it 20 times in a row, you're going to feel like a complete sack of shit. So don't do that. Play with addiction, particularly if you have an addictive personality, do it with harmless shit. Because if you're doing that, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So anyway, play with addiction, and playing with addiction doesn't mean go out playing with heroin, alcoholism, meth, whatever. That's not what I mean. I am definitely not endorsing that nonsense. But you can play with things such as try sleeping in. Do what feels good. You know, if you're single and you want to go out and have a bunch of sex, do so. Do it so safely. Don't catch anything or give anything to anybody. But see what feels good. You know, maybe you just want to go out and meet a bunch of people. Whatever. Play with the idea of being obsessed with something because it's interesting. And you know what? If you do have an addictive personality, it might be good to keep that in check somehow. So the goal should, I mean, it's as simple as this. The goal should be feeling good about being a lazy sack of shit. What do I mean by that? I mean, when you're done with the day, maybe you just worked for a couple hours. Maybe you're like me and things are slow right now, and you can come home and you can enjoy your night doing nothing but watching TV and shoving food down your fucking mouth hole. And that's fine. You're allowed to do that. We shouldn't live a life where you feel ashamed and guilty to take a fucking break. That's some bullshit. You want to be able to enjoy yourself. So play around with addiction, play around with obsession to the point where you can enjoy yourself. Because, I mean, you're only here for so long. Fuck. Don't ruin it. Don't throw it away. Don't sit there and think, oh God, I gotta work harder. I gotta hustle or die because Gary Vaynerchuk said I had to. Oh, fuck. He will be the first one to tell you to shut the fuck up. He will sit there and go fuck and off because you are here for a good time, not for a long time. Now again, don't misinterpret. That doesn't mean go fucking party like it's 1999 every goddamn night like I know some of you early 20-somethings are doing. I never did that. And honestly, it never appealed to me. The idea of being out till 3 a.m. drinking all night sounds fucking terrible to me. You know, it's, I think, 7 o'clock right now. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock right now. And I'm having this drink several hours before bed. Because you know why? It fucks up my sleep. And this is going to be my only drink all night tonight. And I'm going to have 2 more meals after this to make sure that I'm nice and sober by the time I go to bed. Because sleep is important to me. Figure out what's fucking important and then pay attention to that shit. And don't obsess with one person. I know I said play around with obsession. I know I said play around with addiction. But one thing you do not want to do is become fucking codependent on someone. You do not want to become this fucking plebeian of a human being who cannot be happy unless you're in a fucking relationship. How do I know this? Because I've fucking done it. Of course I've fucking done it. Why else would I know so much about it? God, I fucked up a lot. And you know what? It's okay. Because it makes me relatable. And that's why you're listening to this fucking podcast 40 minutes into my nonsensical rantings into the fucking void. COVID. Anyway. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Do something that feels good. But always be wary of the bullshit lying underneath. You know, people will surprise you in the best of ways and the worst of ways. And in the end, their true colors always come out. I've had certain situations where I thought things came to a pleasant ending. And then 2 weeks later, things blow up for no real reason. You thought you did everything right, you thought everything went well, but for whatever reason, something comes out. This is why, if you're one of those people that has trust issues and you feel the need to go through your partner's phone, fucking stop. If you feel like you need to go through their phone, you need to break up. That's a fucking problem. All right? And you need to address that shit before you get into another relationship, because even if somebody is being a little weird, here's what I can guarantee you. If somebody is being unfaithful, if somebody is cheating, if somebody is lying, they can't keep that shit up forever. It is not possible. It will come to light. I promise you. It's happened to me, and it's happened to so many of my friends. And if you listen to my other podcast, the Three Cunts Podcast, #trauma bonding, my friends Meredith, Misty, and I, we talk about this in excess. And it happens a lot. We make it sound hilarious, but it is some of the most miserable experiences of our lives. It fucking blows all the ass. And you don't want to be there. So, don't worry about the trust issues. Push that shit to the side and just communicate with your partner and you'll be fucking fine, I promise. That being said, it always comes out if they're a cheater, if they're a liar, whatever. And that's why I never worry about if someone cheats on me, if someone lies to me. Because again, they will show their true colors. They can only be a chameleon for so long. They can only put on an act for so long. Now, it would be nice if you could figure it out sooner rather than later, but that doesn't mean you take your bad habits and the bullshit baggage that you've accumulated from your past experiences where people shit all over you to then rub the shit all over your current partner, particularly if you end up being wrong and now all of a sudden you have them feeling like shit because you don't trust them for no apparent reason. It's not worth it. Anyway, find your normal. Figure out what works for you. And you'll be happy. And guess what? There's going to be times where you're not going to be happy. And that's good. Because otherwise, your everyday happiness would be boring. And that would fucking suck. As an adult, I can't tell you how many times I've been bored. Because it never fucking happens. There's too much shit going on. I'm never fucking bored. I always have something to do. And if I don't, guess what? It's a fucking godsend. It feels great to come home, lay down, and do fuck all of nothing for the rest of the night. It feels even better to have a weekend where you have no plans and nowhere to go and you just sit at home and do absolutely nothing. It's the best feeling in the world. And guess what? If you don't feel like that, you're probably doing it wrong because you're probably focusing on the wrong fucking things. You want to be happy. Yes. But in order to appreciate said happiness, you have to appreciate the misery. And let me tell you, you really have to appreciate the misery, especially if you're coming through 2020, because it kind of does fucking suck. So appreciate the misery. Value the bullshit that you go through because it's worthwhile. Because yeah, you can learn some lessons, but more importantly, you can reflect on it and laugh at that shit hard style with your friends. Because I gotta tell you, man, I made a joke earlier about suicide. Whew, you don't even understand the shit that me and my friends laugh at because life can really suck sometimes. And if you don't laugh, you have to cry. And the sooner you learn that, the better. So quit with the butt hurt and start getting used to being friendly and laughable about subjects like suicide, murder, death, and everything else that's dark and gruesome. Because let me tell you, the more comfortable you get with that shit, the more comfortable you're going to get with life. So if you have been listening to me to this point in the podcast, and you're still listening to me after that bullshit I just spewed out, well, welcome to the shit show. It's a good time, but we're here together, right? I'm enjoying myself. Hope you guys are too. 45 minutes in. Let's go. If you're wondering how I'm able to keep going on like this, no idea. I can go off like a duck's ass. My clients always tell me, how do you always have something to say? Doesn't it ever get dry or dull? And to answer that question, no, it doesn't. Provided I don't have my fucking phone on me. There's a reason I'm doing this podcast without my phone on my person, because it's a fucking distraction. Social media is great for memes, and it's good for GIFs, and it's good for communicating and having a good old laugh with some friends. Particularly if it's that dark shit I just got done talking about. But, you gotta understand, social media can be a detriment. Your phone in general can be a detriment. I'll give you an example. Earlier on the podcast, I mentioned that I had a particular problem on Facebook and got off for about 4 months. Well, the night that I deleted it off my phone, I checked my phone over the next 3 hours 17 fucking times. The fact that I checked my phone 17 times looking to get that dopamine hit just to check and see if I got a notification on the almighty Facebook, the based god Zuckerberg, telling me what I need to know, that's when it was a fucking problem. Now, of course, I'm right back in the thick of it, checking it every 5 fucking seconds to see if somebody is talking to me because, we're all losers like that. It has me thinking, well, I don't want to get off Facebook again. So what can I do? Well, I can put the phone down and leave it across the room. Because, dude, like I said, I was watching Elementary earlier. I finished all 7 seasons of the series. And, let's see, 2 weeks ago I got back on Facebook. And that's when I started watching the show. There were times I'd have to rewind a scene 6 or 7 times because I'd get distracted by my fucking phone. You have to throw it across the fucking room. Otherwise, you're too distracted to even watch a TV show. Why? Because we're so goddamn addicted to these fucking things. If you look at what Zuckerberg and all the other people that have these social media platforms in Silicon Valley, they don't let their kids use these phones because they know it's a fucking problem. I mean, Christ, they have to put a child lock on to make sure they can't use more than an hour because they know that it's terrible for them. So, manage that shit. Understand that you have a fucking problem, and don't be one of those cock nozzle cunts that puts all your personal shit out there and sounds like some ratchety ass hoe who wants to fight someone, or putting all your personal information or your ex's personal information. No one wants to see that fucking bullshit, you trashy human, you. Stop that. Get help. Seriously, that is just fucking wrong. Stop with that bullshit. Social media is for roasting your friends, posting memes, and laughing at the bullshit that is this economy and these politicians, okay? If you're out there getting pissed off at people on social media, you're doing it fucking wrong. If you're out there complaining on social media about the bullshit going on in your life, let me tell you, no one fucking cares unless you're Kim fucking Kardashian, because she gets paid millions of dollars to do it. You can do that, complain all the fuck you want. But until then, and it's just your fucking grandmother and your auntie, and then your 13 little ratchety ass friends that are saying, oh, you go, girl, she's a ratchet hoe, fuck that bitch, fuck that. That shit is disgusting. That is some flamin' hot Cheeto eating, fucking leopard skin wearing, cigarette smoking, fish catching bullshit. And if I just added you, you're welcome. You fucking deserved it. Stop one or all of those things I just listed, you disgusting human. Anyway. Can you tell I really don't give a shit? Because I really don't. This is just a podcast of me screaming into the void. Like I mentioned, it's a good fucking time. It's also a great mental health exercise, which is probably why I decided to do this, because I've been experiencing the big sad lately. You couldn't tell, could you? No siree. I mean, Christ, Robin Williams fucking hung himself, right? He was a happy dude. That's how it goes. The big sad, when it hits some of the funniest people in the world, they take it and they put a smile on their face and they go dancing around, making everyone else laugh. That's just how it fucking goes. We live off of depression and memes. Welcome to 2020. Oh, God, this is a good drink. I really don't give a shit if this podcast takes off. I would like, the other podcast that I'm a part of, it's called the Three Cunts Podcast with my friends Misty and Meredith. And I hope that one does, because on it, I mean, the shit that we say is so fucking funny. Again, it's miserable for us, but to retell it, it's really goddamn funny. And particularly Meredith, like, so being a Karen is a thing, right? Well, I want, pulling a Meredith to become a thing because her life is so goddamn unique. I can't even begin to tell you how hilarious it is to just bear witness to the experience that is her existence. And it is just so goddamn funny. So I would like that podcast to come to fruition. I have not posted the episodes yet because we're going to try and do a weekly posting on that. And, well, it's been hard with COVID and everything else going on. And I want to post consistently, so we're going to do a few more recordings, bank them up, and then, and then I'll post it. But I would really like to support that podcast. Another reason why I started this one, where I'm just screaming nonsensical bullshit, and maybe you guys like it, maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't fucking care because I like it and it's a good time. But if you do want to support me in some way, shape, or form, go check out the Three Cunts podcast because you would be supporting my two friends, Misty and Meredith, and that would really make me happy. Please and thank you. Also, God forbid any artists are listening to this. If you want to animate this and make something funny out of it, by all means, go ahead. Because if you are listening to me, odds are you might listen to the Snark Tank podcast with Some Black Guy, Tom Sweeney, and Chris Raygun. And that's honestly one of my favorite fucking podcasts. I love those guys. They're fucking hilarious. Chris in particular is the one that got me into it because I loved his videos, his YouTube channel. And through him, I learned who Some Black Guy and Tom Sweeney are. I mean, obviously, because Tom Sweeney didn't fucking do shit until Chris and Derek, also known as Some Black Guy, until Chris and Derek told Tom, "Yo, motherfucker, listen, you're funny and you're fucking wild, so you need to start making content." Finally is. So, also, I highly suggest going and listening to them. It's the Snark Tank podcast. But the reason I bring them up is because they have a certain following, and some of their followers create animated art. And like they'll make t-shirts and merch and shit like that. And it's fun. It's cool. And they just send it to them and then they'll put it on merchandise or they'll post the videos. And it's just cool to see your voice put to an animated character. And that's awesome. That is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So if by chance an animator is listening to this and you think what I'm saying is fucking funny, animate it. Send it to me. I will post it the fuck up. But don't expect to get famous from it because I've got like 7 followers. So, again, doing this to scream into the void, not to get fucking rich. It's a good time. That's why I'm doing it. But anyway, a lot of all over the place on this. Can you tell that I had no agenda when I first sat down to do this bullshit? I mean, Christ, I've been sitting here for 50 minutes or so. And, I can't even think of everything that I've talked about, but it's been a good time. We don't sit and talk to people anymore. It's always a text message or a social media post. We should probably call more people. Whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm in the car, I try to call somebody. It always makes the car ride go faster. And if it's not calling somebody, I'm usually listening to a podcast because when you listen to a podcast, it's almost like you're in the room and you get to know those people and you become friends with those people. Fucking weird to think you actually are, so fucking don't. If you meet Joe Rogan or one of your other podcasting inspirations in real life, don't act like you know them. Just say, "Hey man, big fan, keep doing what you do, thank you," shake their hand, give them a hug or something, and fucking leave. Don't be one of these obsessive K-pop fans. Yes, I made fun of K-pop. K-pop is fucking stupid. Fuck you if you like it. I can't stand that shit. The fact that they are able to dox and just destroy people on Twitter and like destroy their lives is just fucking wrong. K-pop sucks. Fuck you, fight me. Anyway, can you tell the alcohol is wearing on me? And this is just one glass, man. I'm 210 pounds, 5'8", white boy. I never drink, and I'm getting kind of tipsy off just this one drink, and it feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. My liver and my wallet thank me. But that aside, I think that's good. I think what I'll do moving forward is if this podcast gains some traction, I'll start answering some questions from you guys, and I'll start posting those and reading those in like the last 15 minutes or something. I mean, this is my first ever podcast posting. Like I said, I've recorded the Three Cunts already, but it hasn't, the Three Cunts podcast, we haven't banked enough yet to start posting it on a regular basis. It'll come soon. We can't have it too far removed from the election because we got to have the chronological bits in place for it to remain relatable. Because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I can't, it's hard for me to go back and watch a podcast from like 3 years ago unless it's just funny. Because usually they're talking about current events, and I want to hear about those current events as they're happening. It's not something I want to go back and listen to retrospectively. So, in the meantime, here I am, once more, out into the void. Like I've said probably 17 times. But I think that's probably good. We're pretty close to an hour now. And Daddy needs to urinate. So, hopefully you like the podcast. It's the very first episode. It's not going to be much different from this moving forward. I might change some audio setups, but otherwise, this is how it's going to be. If you like it, stick around for more. I'll post more of these. And again, ask some questions, send me some fan art, whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't know what you fucking into. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe you don't. Fuck off. I don't give a shit. But thank you for listening. I've been Norman, and this has been the DudeCast podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Finger guns, bitch.